Hi, hope everyone's having a great week. Today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about antibiotics. The CDC, or the Center for Disease Control and Prevention, performed a survey on 1,000 adults on their understanding of antibiotics. 79% knew that taking antibiotics when they weren't necessary could make them less effective at treating their future illnesses, and 86% knew that they should take the full course of antibiotic prescriptions. But nearly all the people in the focus group admitted that even if their doctor told them to take all the antibiotics, they didn't complete the course and often stopped and then when the symptoms disappeared. Antibiotics are powerful medicines that are used to destroy or prevent bacteria from flourishing and thriving in the body. I've spent much time researching antibiotics and graduated with a degree in exercise physiology, where I studied and took classes in biology and microbiology, where I had a chance to learn more about these ideas. Understanding how antibiotics work in the body and how to use them can prevent antibiotic resistant bacteria from forming and killing more people. Just to hit home with this, 90,000 Americans each year die from healthcare associated infections, many of which are drug resistant. I plan to discuss with you why you should take antibiotics and why we shouldn't be so hasty to get antibiotics for every cough and sniffle that we have. Now, don't get me wrong, we should go to the doctor. There's a time and a place to visit the doctor and make sure that everything's going okay. But there's a time and a place. Now let's start by going over what bacteria are. Bacteria are single-celled organisms, and they cover our entire body and are inside us. We have good bacteria and bad bacteria. We have bacteria that are necessary in digesting food and helping our bodies to function. But we also have bad bacteria, bacteria that, whether they do things bad to us while they're alive, or some that do bad things to us when they die. Sometimes the bacteria are fine in our bodies until they are killed. Then they release a toxin which hurts us. And so there's all of these different kinds of bacteria, and it's hard to know what we should do and when we need to do it. The big question that you should be asking yourself is, when is it considered a bacterial infection and when is it a viral infection? Because if it's a viral infection, then taking an antibiotic won't help. A bacterial disease such as cholera, malaria, and measles all can be treated using antibiotics and should be prescribed by a doctor. But when you're sick with something like a cold or the flu, and even some forms of strep throat, those are considered viral infections. When it's a viral infection, taking an antibiotic that kills bacteria won't help you. You may begin to feel better because it's taken away some different bacteria that are causing issues due to the virus destroying your body, but the bacterial are not the issue. It's the virus. So, how are we supposed to help ourselves? What are we supposed to do? Well, first you could start by getting sleep and eating some chicken noodle soup. I think those are some great options. But how are we supposed to prevent bacteria from becoming resistant to these antibiotics? And what I mean by that is these bacteria become harder and harder to kill because we no longer have any drugs capable of destroying them. The reason why this happens is because bacteria need to eat and need to take in nutrients in order to thrive, in order to survive. And so when there's lots of different bacteria, they have competition. It's kind of like having a family of 12. You know, everyone is trying to eat as fast as they can at the dinner table, trying to get as much food as they can because they know that somebody else is trying to eat more. But those kids that are younger, that don't have long arms or aren't loud enough, aren't going to get as much food and nutrients. And if they don't get that nutrients, they're not going to be able to survive. Essentially, the children would survive. That's where the that scenario kind of flaws. But with bacteria, it's the same thing. If there's a lot of bacteria there, they don't have the ability to thrive, to grow. But when you take away all of the competition, all of the bacteria, then those bacteria have the opportunity to eat, because it's like an all-you-can-eat buffet has just been put in front of them. So then they start to eat and multiply and give their genetic code to different bacteria and allow them to mutate. And when they mutate, that's when they have the opportunity to either become antibiotic resistant or be able to fight different antibiotics. And it makes it harder and harder to kill those different bacteria. And so the question is, how do we prevent these antibiotic resistant bacteria from forming? Some antibiotic resistant bacteria are in the body naturally, and so we can't do anything about those. But when you get sick and are given an antibiotic, this is what happens. You have some bacteria initially that aren't quite as strong and will be killed by antibiotics introduced into the body. Those bacteria will get wiped out with maybe 1 or 2 days of antibiotics being used. Then you have some that are a little more resilient, that you have to take 3 to 4 days of antibiotics for those ones to be killed. And let's say you keep using those drugs, the drugs, until those ones are taken care of. But then you have those that are really resilient. Those bacteria that are bad, that are going to cause some damage. Those ones that you have to take the whole prescription amount for. Those ones are going to stay alive until you take the full prescription. And if you don't take the full prescription, then those bacteria no longer have to compete with the other bacteria that were there. So now you have these really bad bacteria that are more resilient to antibiotics, that are growing and multiplying and mutating in your body. So then you become sicker. You become sick with the same disease, but much sicker, and you become more susceptible to passing these antibiotic resilient bacteria to other people. And so we need to understand that in order to stop these antibiotic resistant bacteria from forming, we need to take the full prescription. People may say that we don't need to take all of our antibiotics because our body can handle it, or we're preventing our body from doing its functions and we're making it weaker, or that we just don't need to take the full dose. My thought process behind that is, and the research that I've done is, our body is amazing. It's constantly trying to fight off the different diseases, and it's creating white blood cells that are able to remember what that bacteria looks like and what it does, and have that white blood cell there so that when that bacteria is introduced again into the body, that's the first line of defense to fight that bacteria and make sure that it doesn't come back again and you don't get sick again. But sometimes the body needs a little bit of help, because that bacteria produces and replicates so quickly that every snap of the finger, there's another 1,000. Every snap of the finger, you got all of these bacteria that are forming, and so you need help. But your body will eventually be able to handle it. If we don't do something soon, superbacteria, or bacteria resistant to antibiotics, are going to kill more and more people, and there won't be anything we can do to stop it. We can prevent this by taking all of the drugs that we're given by the doctor. If we're given an antibiotic, make sure we take the full dosage. And the next time you think about not taking your antibiotics to the full prescription, remember this video. It could save your life.